and that's just a little bit of what he accomplished on the basketball court. Off the court, he is a multiple best-selling author. He is a social conscious of our country in many ways, and he was the recipient of the Presidential Medal of Freedom presented by President Obama, the highest civilian honor one can receive in our country. It's my great pleasure, ladies and gentlemen, the great Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Kareem, good to see you. All right, what a great pleasure this is. Kareem and I have had several opportunities over the years to talk about a number of things, and I get goosebumps every time I get to do this. Welcome back to Milwaukee, Kareem. It's always great to see you.
Thank you very much, Jim, and hello, everyone. Nice to see you guys.
Kareem, you came to this city a long time ago in the late 60s, and you come back today and see an entirely different Milwaukee. What is your take on what's happened to the city in those so many years?
Well, it's great to see how it has expanded, and the way that this building and all the other things that the Bucks have done have revitalized downtown and made it a focus. I think that's pretty amazing. You know, I never thought that Milwaukee would end up like that, but here we are, and look at this this building here. It's incredible.
We had 17,000, 18,000 people inside the building for playoff games, and we had another 20,000 people out on the plaza watching on a television set during our playoff games. The Bucks have generated an incredible amount of interest, probably the most interest since you were here when the team won a championship in 1971. It's great to see you, isn't it?
Oh yeah, and I was so disappointed when it didn't pan out the way we all had hoped that it would. But I think that's part of the learning experience that a team has to go through, you know, to go through a disappointment like that, because that gives them the motivation to that next time there's going to be a different ending. So 2020 is going to have some Bucks in it. I'm positive of that. Absolutely.
We all believe and know that it will happen soon.
Yes.
Again. Kareem, we're here today, as you know, celebrating great community work. These folks have done outstanding work in their communities. We're celebrating them through the Bucks Foundation, as we have for 3 years. 10 years ago, you launched the Skyhook Foundation, working with children through sports and education. Can you share with us your thoughts on doing that and how it's played out in terms of focusing on STEM education?
Well, I think that any professional team should, you know, relate to the people that support it. So the fact that I had so much support in Los Angeles, I wanted to give back in a way that I felt would be meaningful. So I started a camp working with the LA Unified School District, and we send 4th and 5th graders to STEM camp for 4 nights and 5 days. And they do hands-on STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math experiments, observing the night sky, testing water quality, testing air quality, observing the flora and fauna, and letting them know that all of these things have technological connections. And in this way, they will get an idea of where the best jobs are going to be in the 21st century, because this is important for young people. So we have now a 6-year waiting list. We've sent something like 80,000 kids so far, and I'm hoping that it's having all the positive impact that I thought it would. Young people are now getting an idea of how to use their educational opportunities in the best way. So many of the companies here in America are looking for engineers of all types, and all that takes is for us to get the message across to our young people that, you know, when you get into high school, pay attention in physics class, pay attention in chemistry class, and you got a job. That's how it works. So once they get that idea, we're going to see a lot more success in young people from diverse backgrounds getting great jobs in the technical field. And that's what my hopes are.
The folks here today work in areas of education, mental health and wellness, mentorship, and so many other areas. You are always good for very sage advice. What would you tell them about their role in working with young people and how important that is in our country today?
Well, we just have to remember that our youth are our future, and if they're not getting what they need to make our future brighter, then we're not going to like the future. So we got to do all we can to give our young people the best opportunity to do the best they can with their minds and their bodies, because that's what America should be about.
You are often referred to as a social justice warrior. Are you comfortable with that term? What does it mean, and how can we all understand it and put it into play?
Well, for me, being a social justice warrior just had to do with expecting to be treated like everyone else is treated. Too many times in this country, certain segments of our population get the short end of the stick. That's not right. Okay, so usually that's immigrants and people of color, because that has been a tradition. Well, that tradition is ending now, and now everybody should have the opportunities to make the American dream their dream, and that's all it's about.
We've talked about this before. Sometimes people get upset when athletes or Hollywood types use their platform to speak out. In our world, people have said, just shut up and play. And you and I have discussed this. Neither one of us believes that you should shut up and play. What's your take on how people should use platforms that they have?
People, especially people who are athletes, are no different than anybody else. So for someone to say, just shut up and dribble, which was said to LeBron James, LeBron has more ideas than just playing basketball. I know most of you have seen how he's going to send people from a huge neighborhood in Akron, Ohio, he's going to send them to college. He's put the money down for these kids to have the educational opportunity to go to college. That's what he wants to do, and that's more than dribbling. So we want to improve our communities, and the people who get the opportunity to make the type of salaries that professional athletes make, they have more opportunities to help their communities. And that's what they're doing when they raise their voices about problems in their communities, and when they spend some of that money to help the people in their communities that they know need it. So that's what these nonprofit organizations do. They give a helping hand where it's needed. That's what people in the athletic world are trying to do. That's what LeBron was trying to do, and I hope they keep on doing it, because it has made a difference.
You started fighting social injustice and standing up to it and speaking out about it before your NBA career.
Yeah.
Because in our lifetime, that time in the 60s was pivotal in this country, and there were a lot of things to talk about and to be concerned about. What can people understand about maybe not having the spotlight platform that we have in the NBA or in Hollywood? What can they understand about standing up for social injustice in their world?
Even people who don't have a platform can make their voices heard, especially when they come together. So come together with the people that you feel share your grievances or your concern about certain issues, and come together and speak your mind about it. Speak to your representative in the House of Congress. Speak to your mayor. Speak to your city council member. Okay, you have people that you can go to that have to listen to you. So just be aware of that and keep knocking on their door until they wake up. That's what it's all about. You got to wake them up, because they have a job to do for you.
I'm going to take you back to 1963, the Civil Rights Movement, Dr. King, all of the things that were going on in the 60s, and you were an advocate of change back then. This is a tough question, but how are we doing?
Well, I thought, from what I've seen, we've made some progress and we've had some setbacks. I think since the latest president has been in office, we've been moving backwards. But it's up to us. For all the people who want change, we have to be motivated and go out there, use the ballot to express your opinion about what's going on. The ballot is power, and we all have to use that power, especially in times like this when our country is in a crisis. So I hope that's how you people feel about it, and I hope you go and vote. Vote your conscience. That'll be enough for me.
Kareem, you've had such a great impact on and off the basketball court for so many years. What is most important to you when you think about how people might think of you moving forward?
Well, I hope people will think that I did my best to provide a positive example. You know, I did that thinking about my children, and all the kids that I know admire professional athletes. You know, I know I did. I was a Brooklyn Dodger fan. I was a Milwaukee Braves fan in 1957. Absolutely, because I hate the Yankees. But that's what it's all about. The way that people identify with their team, and the way that the guys on the team provide positive examples. I think that's great, and that's a part of America, Canada, that should live forever.
Before we open it up to questions from our audience today, I always like to ask you about your life these days. I know your children and your grandchildren are very important to you these days.
I only have one. I have a granddaughter. She's 4.5, and she's awesome. No, my children are doing great. They're all established. One of my sons is a surgeon. So proud of him. But they're all doing good. Thank you for asking.
Okay, we have microphones in the audience, and this is your opportunity to ask questions of one of the great humanitarians in our country's history, and I seriously mean that. This gentleman has had an impact in so many ways, in so many lives, that we have a chance to visit with him today is very, very special.
Hi.
I got a mic for you. Hello, my name is Kyla. I'm a teacher, and I'm also a representative for Teach for America. Can you hear me?
No,
Okay.
I can, yeah.
I wanted to know, how did you stay focused on being an advocate for change and also focusing on the goal of becoming a great basketball player?
Well, to become an advocate for change, you only had to be observing of what was happening in America. I grew up during the 50s, which was a very tough time for the civil rights movement, and I saw my people struggling just to get treated like an average American citizen. It seemed to be that the culture of this country wanted people of color to take an inferior position, and we had to change that. So I was motivated by that. The people that I saw, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., Adam Clayton Powell Jr., some of the other civil rights leaders motivated me. That was something that I saw. And one of my basketball heroes, Bill Russell, was also he was also very involved in the civil rights movement. And I saw that I could do both. I could be an athlete, and I could be involved in trying to affect change. So that's what I pursued. You don't have to limit yourself. There's a whole lot of things you can do, and just take the right steps to do what you want to do with your life. Take the logical steps. That's all that counts. Okay? Thank you for your question.
Help me with the year, Kareem. There's a great picture that you may have seen, and I remember this very clearly. You mentioned Bill Russell, Muhammad Ali, I believe Jim Brown, you. There were a group of athletes that got together at a certain period of time to put forth a wonderful message.
Well, in 1967, Muhammad Ali had run up against the fact that he would not serve in the Army because he was a conscientious objector. And they wanted to strip him of his title and penalize him for the stance that he was taking. And Bill Russell and Jim Brown decided to get some athletes together to see if we could help Muhammad Ali. I was invited. I was only 20 years old at the time, but they wanted me kind of to represent the youth of America, you know, the young black youth of America. And we questioned Ali, and we found that he was absolutely sincere in his beliefs, and he didn't care what was going on. He wasn't going to go in the Army. So that was that. As you know, he fought the battle and won in court and had his title reinstated, and after a few fights, he had regained his title. But he had that courage and he had that determination that people were going to pay attention to the fact that he had the right to be a conscientious objector, and no one was going to push him off of that point. And he made his point.
We're still seeing that today. As you were speaking, I just was reminded of Colin Kaepernick, and of course, people have their opinions. My opinion is that in the future, we will look back on his stance with a different eye, the same way we look back on the stance of the gentleman in Mexico City at the Olympic Games, Thomas.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and others. And your take on that. It still happens. There's a need for it to happen. And we have to give it time before people understand, perhaps, what the stance means.
What the stance means. And Colin Kaepernick taking a knee did not signify disrespect for our country or our military. It signified the fact that something is wrong in our country when certain people are singled out and killed and shot and killed by police officers for no good reason, unarmed people. They usually end up being people, black and brown people. So that's what Colin was talking about. He was not trying to insult anyone. He was trying to point out that there's a discrepancy in the way that the laws are enforced with regard to people of color. And until people want to listen to that, or until people can understand that, they're going to have this conflict with him. It was very interesting to me to see that Megan Rapinoe, the soccer star, she's also a supporter of Colin Kaepernick for the very same reasons, because people discriminate against her because she is a lesbian, and they want to make the wrong deal about that. We have to learn to accept people. Live and let live is really the best way for all of us to get along here in America, and I hope that more people come to that understanding.
Any other questions? We have one over here with the microphone. Yes.
Hi, I actually have two questions, but the first one is, I have two questions. The first one is, who's taller, you or Giannis?
What? I didn't hear.
Who's taller, you or Giannis?
I'm taller than Giannis.
And my second question is, what's your opinion on the newer basketball players?
What's my opinion on what?
How do you feel about how basketball has changed since you've played basketball?
Well, I think basketball really has changed positively. The three-point shot, people didn't understand how it was going to affect the game until those guys from Golden State started making all those shots from across the half-court line and, stretch the court. But I think it's really made the game interesting. I don't like the fact that you can't play defense like we did. We could, bump people and put your hands on them. You can't do that anymore. So that's the only thing that I don't like about the rules. But I think the rules are great for the fans. And, the emphasis on long-range shooting has really changed the way that the game is played, I think, in a positive way. So I hope all of you guys enjoy it. I don't know how they can change it and make it any better, but we'll see. Yeah.
Hi. In what ways would you say that theater impacted your life?
In what ways?
Did theater impact your life?
Geez, theater. Well, theater has impacted my life insofar as I'm a movie fan and a hopeless movie fan. You know, so I think movies really have had a profound impact on my life just because I enjoy them so much. And they have the ability to teach lessons and make you laugh or cry. It's a pretty powerful medium.
And of course, you have been an actor.
I have a couple of times there, but I don't know. If John Steinmiller is here, maybe he could tell me what did I act? Airplane, all right.
Do you want me to go?
Yes, sir.
So I'm with two youth who are, I think, 100% sure they're going to be in the NBA someday. What advice would you have for young people in our country as they pursue their dreams?
I would tell young people to pursue your dreams, but don't have just one dream. You know, have an athletic dream, have an academic dream. So, you don't know if you're going to be a professional athlete, but you will be an adult and you will need to have an idea about how you're going to support yourself. So go to school, then go to the gym and learn the fundamentals of whatever sport. So if it's basketball, you got to work on the whole game. Don't just work on your three-point shot. All right? You got to learn how to play defense and rebound and pass and make free throws, all those awesome little arcane little subjects that make the games enjoyable for everybody. You're going to have to master all of that. So good luck to you.
Next question, maybe behind the barrier. Do we have over here somewhere? Need a microphone.
Where are the microphones?
There we go.
Who was the hardest matchup that you ever played in, like, had to guard in when you were playing?
Well, for me, the toughest guys for me to guard were the guys that could shoot it well from the top of the key, because it drew me out from where I played my best defense. So if I had to go out there and guard Alvin Adams or Dan Issel or something, that was a little bit different for me. But most of the time, I played my defense under the hoop.
What player, though?
The problem is there weren't any players that gave me that much of a problem.
We've talked about it. The sky shot, of course, is a great story on how that developed, and you were taught that as a very young person. But that shot, remind me, I don't believe that shot was ever blocked maybe one time in your entire career?
I think Wilt got one my rookie year, and that was it.
That was it. One time. Yes.
Good afternoon. Zion Bullock of the Fellowship Open and MK Fellows. I just want to say as well before I ask my question, thank you for your service to our community, and thank you for letting us be here and hear your wonderful voice and everything that you have to say. My question is, how do we assure as a community that we capitalize on our foot in the door, and how do we assure we own and can solidify black and brown people inside of these institutions and structures?
Well, I think the best way to ensure success is to be prepared. You have to be prepared for the next step, and you have to understand what that is. So you have to have a plan, and you have to have some knowledge of how to execute that plan. And if you can do that, you're on your way. And you have to have support, so you have to really engender the support of your community that believes in your plan and the way that you're going to execute that plan. So preparation and support, that's what it's all about. That's how things get done.
Congratulations on thinking beyond getting your foot in the door. That's the best part right there. You can get your foot in the door, but you have to know what's happening after that. Be prepared for it. That's what Kareem is saying.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yes.
Right here.
Good afternoon. First, I want to say I have a very loud voice, so I apologize to everybody else. I have great respect for all that you do. I also respect anybody that could fight with Bruce Lee and win most of the time. But my question is, growing up in the time that you did, when we protested, we had more patience. We would do a longer term. How do you think this generation can get a little bit of that patience sauce? How can we actually affect change the way that you guys did back then, when we don't seem to have the patience or the attention span or the community to rile around each other because we don't have the money to get fired because we don't show up for work. So how can we actually do that today?
Well, the reason that in the 50s and 60s they had to be patient was because most of white Americans did not understand how bad it was. And it took incidents like the murder of Emmett Till and other incidents like that for people to see actually how bad it was. And I think once that message got across, there was some progress made. But now it seems that people don't understand that it's still pretty bad for people of color. And not much has changed. Some things have changed. The laws definitely have changed, but people's attitudes haven't changed. Look at our president. So we have a lot of work to do, and we have to be prepared to do it, and it's going to take more time. We're going to need more patience. But fortunately, this is America, and that patience can pay off, and we just have to believe in it. I think that's what Dr. King was saying about we shall overcome. He didn't say we shall overcome immediately, and that means we have a long fight ahead of us. But I think we're winning allies, and I think most people see that the big difference between a president like the one we have now and President Obama. I think they can make a choice, and hopefully they'll make the right choice.
Yes.
My question is, how did you make it to the NBA, and was it hard for you to get in the NBA?
I made it to the NBA by playing college basketball and getting noticed. And that takes talent, and it takes being on a great team. But the NBA has great scouts out here, so if you have talent, they're going to find you. They found Giannis in Athens, Greece. That's a long way to go to find talent. And they found some great talent. So just work on your game, and they'll find you. If you have the talent, they will find you. Don't worry about that. Just worry about putting that talent on display.
Kareem played at UCLA for one of the greatest coaches in basketball history, John Wooden. I know you learned so much from him. Was there something that supersedes all of what you learned from Coach?
Yeah, I think the most important thing I learned from Coach is that even if you have a great individual talent, if you can't blend it with the other guys on the team, you're not going anywhere as a team. So that's just the whole idea of team sports. Understand the team part of it. They say there's no I in team. I think that's a good statement to realize that you're working with other people, and that's how you make progress.
So you didn't win any of those 6 NBA championships by yourself?
Certainly didn't, no. And anybody who thinks that they did is deluded.
Okay, yes.
Hi, Kareem.
Hi.
I'm Jayla from the United Community Center, and I just want to ask you, what inspires you about Milwaukee? What keeps you coming and being involved here?
Well, I keep coming back because I made friends here, and it's funny. Anywhere I go in the country, I always run into people from Wisconsin that have something positive to say about my time here, and that makes me feel good about it, that I put something positive in a lot of people's lives. So it's great to come back and share and see how the old town is getting on. Yeah.
Thank you.
I think we have a microphone coming over here. We have some patient young people.
You gonna stand up?
What made you want to play in the NBA?
What
made you want to play?
What made me want to play? Well, I started out, I wanted to play baseball. And I wanted to pitch like my hero, Don Newcomb of the Brooklyn Dodgers. But my fastball didn't go over the plate all the time. and things on the basketball court just seemed to go right. So I figured I better stay with the game that I had the most talent for, and that's why I stuck with basketball. I'm glad I did that. Of course, I didn't have Randy Johnson as a role model, and I would never make it as a 7-foot-tall baseball pitcher. So there you go.
I think we have one more over here, a young man, and then this gentleman. We're getting close to the end, but we'll keep going as long as we can. 2 more questions. Okay, yes, sir.
Who is your biggest rival?
I guess in my professional career, my biggest rival was the Boston Celtics.
You can Google it. The Boston Celtics and the Lakers won a few championships. Yes, sir. Our final question today.
Good afternoon. Charles Brown from Journey House. I have 2 questions. First one is, you perfected the Skyhook. Why do you think current NBA players haven't worked on that? Like, that was an unstoppable shot. Why do you think current NBA players haven't perfected that?
Current NBA players don't want to shoot it because everybody wants to shoot a three-pointer. So they're not working on the game where they're back to the basket, where you get high percentage shots in the paint. I think a balance between outside shooting and scoring in the paint really gives a team the options that they need to adjust to the way the other team is playing them. So I wouldn't take all the shots, but I think a certain percentage of the shots should go in and be high percentage shots in the paint. And, you know, you can balance that with catching the guys out on the perimeter when the defense sags too much. I think that type of being able to alternate really helps the team.
Sure. My second question is, what are you reading right now?
What am I reading right now? The last book I read, it's called IQ. It's about a young man who he has the skills of Sherlock Holmes, but he lives in Long Beach in the 21st century. And he has ridiculous skills as far as detection and apprehending criminals. It's really interesting. It's called IQ, and I hope you enjoy it. Yeah.
What are you writing now?
I have a book coming out in September. It's the 3rd installation of the Mycroft and Sherlock series. And I think it wraps it all up. And from there, Sherlock goes on to his career that we all know about through Arthur Conan Doyle. So I kind of did a pre-story. And I hope all of you who are into Sherlock Holmes can get a hold of it and enjoy it. It comes out in September, I think the 19th, the 14th or 19th of September.
Kareem, we will let you have the final message to our group of great community leaders today.
I just want you guys to keep up what you're doing. You know, just the fact that you care about your communities and are trying to help all the people in your communities. I think that's awesome. I think that's the American way, and I thank you for your effort, and I hope you keep it up. You guys are doing great work. All the best.
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, ladies and gentlemen. We will have some photo opportunities